Hello and welcome back to the J&Z podcast. My name is Jace Finort,
And I'm Zeth Makala.
and today we're going to be talking to you about Speed Racer. It's Zeth's favorite movie. He just made an amazing video on it on our main channel, so the one you're watching, in fact. So go check that out. Zeth, this movie, when we watched it the other day, I saw something inside of me open up from it, and it was pure, concentrated, flowing confusion. Why is this your favorite movie?
Because it's just entertaining. It's one of those movies where I can watch over and over and over again. I watch this movie every month.
Month?
I watch it at least I watch it at least once a month because it's my favorite movie, and every single month there's something new I can take away from it that I didn't notice beforehand.
What are some things that you've recently, not to get too off track, but is there anything you've caught in some of the more latest viewings of the movie that you haven't noticed in all this time?
And just some character reactions, a few little minor details like they talk about Red Sox in the beginning, and if you watch a lot of the characters later in the movie, they're wearing Red Sox and stuff. So just little things like that.
I have some fun trivia, for the movie.
Oh, really?
Did you know that they almost didn't use a real monkey in it, and it would have made the movie a lot better? In fact, in my version, there wouldn't be any monkey or little
Yeah,
brother.
that's
We
why you're not a big Speed Racer fan to begin with. So that's why.
I can appreciate. I feel that in live action stuff, having that campy old younger brother, from the Disney Channel, the annoying fat one that can be funny at certain times, but in general, I feel like he just drags the scene down. And I do like his relationship with Chimp Chimp. They do some funny stuff and they do some very funny visual gags together, but I have also, it's also kind of cringy whenever you see it, at the same time. It can be funny and cringy at the same time, and I feel they are in that category.
No, I get you. I get you. There's a few scenes where it's not really necessary, or they could have edited it somewhere else. Like there's the part when Royalton's just drilling Speed in the office, and he's like, "Oh, you're going to be the best driver in the world, and you're going to sign for me." And then all of a sudden, it cuts to Spritle going, "Woo!"
Yeah.
Some of that, yes, I can understand, but I still find it really entertaining and very funny.
It's entertaining, but I feel like in a movie that looks like it should be for kids, but actually is more adult in various ways and than you'd ever expect out of a children's movie. I wish they kept it consistent with the kid characters. I just feel like it would have been better off having just, they can be themselves, but I feel like they could have done some funny like background gags of like them goofing around in the background, just more like generic goofy character stuff without having them be in every single scene making sometimes they make a poop joke or they just do generic kid. They're like, "Ooh, candy," generic fat kid candy like
No, I get it.
stuff.
For a person like you that's never watched the show, that's why you you view it that way. For someone like me that grew up with the anime, this was my first anime that I ever watched. Uh, kind of set the bar a little low there, but um, when it comes to it, that's who they were in the original series. They were just the very cliche, this kid's going to get in trouble with the monkey and they're going to love candy. That was their character.
And
And it's
sure,
perfectly executed in the movie.
I'm sure it is. I just, in general, me personally, I'm not a huge fan of that style of character.
No, yeah, like I said before, I'm not going to bash you for not liking that. That's the one part of the movie that I can agree with some things.
Yeah. On to something else I wasn't a huge fan of. Don't worry, we'll talk about some of the better parts. But I don't think. I think that certain parts of the CGI held up amazing and other parts did not. And that's just a product of it being made in 2008.
No, I get that. I think the majority of the races they look good. And I think the majority of the CGI, when it needs to look good, it looks good.
I agree.
When it doesn't look good, I think it's just like for a split second, but it never takes you out of the movie.
I it did take me out of the movie, if I'm going to be completely honest. And there's
Okay.
sometimes the scenes were not necessarily bad, but just so unconventional. You're just wondering what you're watching. The fight scene comes to mind, but we'll move on. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. But I feel in general they did very good for 2008 CGI, no doubt about it. But I also feel, you know what? I'll save my good old theory for the end of this episode. I thought I'll move on to something good. I thought they did all the characters very well. I thought that they cast everybody pretty much perfectly, and they all played their roles fairly well for no problem.
Mm-hmm. That's one thing I kind of highlight in my video I just made. One problem in the original anime that I always had is the mom and the dad are not very prevalent, and when they are, it's mostly we're going to yell at Speed Racer or we're going to worry about Speed Racer. And the mom, I mean, I was having trouble finding clips for her. I mean, she's almost non-existent in the anime.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, One thing about Speed 2 is he's really unlikable in the anime, in my opinion.
How
He's just,
so? I haven't seen it. Is he like cocky? Is he just
yeah, and he's kind of a spoiled brat too in some scenes, and he's just instead of like letting people talk, like in the movie, he's a lot more humble and he's a lot more likable. In the original anime, he's a lot more,
hotshot racer kind of?
yeah, just very unlikable. Also,
Uh, yeah. So I guess you'd say, I guess you could say in at least certain regards that this is one of the few examples where like an anime movie is better than
hmm
the anime itself.
yeah,
That just
not to
doesn't
do
happen.
not to disregard the anime because it's still good. If you can get past a pretty poor dialogue at times. But yeah, no, this is 10 times better than the original anime.
I also have to commend them on the racing. The racing, once you kind of got acclimated to seeing the weird way they drive and a way more goofy, cartoony style of driving, they're spinning everywhere. They're doing like full drifts with their future cars, and there's like weapons and jumping, and it's kind of a lot to take in, to be perfectly honest. But what seeing it through the movie, and especially in the final race, it was fun to watch them race, and they did an okay job, showing everything that's going on. Sometimes it was a little hard to follow, but it kind of made up for it with the characters kind of being very distinct.
Yeah. I like it. I being that this is the first time you've watched it, I can definitely see that. The first time I watched it, a lot of the stuff was confusing. For instance, the races, even though they're very well edited together, yes, there's some times when it's a little bit too spliced up in my opinion. There's not enough long
Sure.
shots and there's not
Yeah.
enough far back shots. But the good thing about the races, you know where every single character is and you know who they are and where they are in relativity to the race. That's the cool thing about them.
Yes, I never had too big an issue tracking the people. It just was a lot of cuts, and I kind of wish that the way they filmed it more like a fight than they did a race. To a certain extent, I feel, and I like that. It's very different than a typical race. You're not going to find like a race. You're going to find more fighting and action stuff than in your typical just race.
Yeah, the one thing you were confused about that you kept saying was how the wheels spin weird and how they have weapons and
Well,
the
I wasn't
way they
confused. It's
race.
just way harder to take, to believe, and to get
Well, yeah,
yourself
but
invested. It's like nothing you've ever
this
seen.
is this is like in the future. Yeah, exactly. This is something that you've never
But
seen before.
but like
It's
in a
way in the
weird way.
future. Yeah, but that's the way the wheels work. They're like a 180-degree wheel spin. So they're able to like spin the car 360 degrees really crazy. But with the weapons, what I really like is that I kind of talk about it a little bit in my video, but one thing I really enjoy is that in the original anime, they never really gave Speed Racer a reason for his car to be so decked out. There's like a few reasons, like okay, the jump jacks. I guess that kind of makes sense. So there's like a few scenes in the original anime where they lift up the car, and that's how they work on the car underneath it.
Hmm.
It's just an easier way. The homing bird makes sense a little bit, I guess, and the tire situation, but like the buzz saws make no sense, and how
Was he
this.
more? Was he like super decked out, and everybody else just had like normal cars, or at least
Yes, that's
that
exactly
universe's
how it
version of
was.
normal car?
That's exactly how it was. The races were pretty normal. Like you you know the middle race where it's like a desert race and stuff.
Yeah.
That's like how all of the original races were. Just take out everyone else having a weapon.
Hmm. Yeah, it doesn't sound as exciting.
Yeah, it I mean in the movie the race is really great, but in the original anime the races are pretty boring. They weren't really about the races, it was more about the obstacle in the race. Like for
Hmm.
instance, there'd be a terrorist about to blow up something in the middle of a race, and Speed would have to fix it. That was more of what the story was about. But I like in this one that they give him reasons for his car to be fully decked out. So for instance, in this race, his Mach 5 is a pretty normal car, but when they go into the race, it's decked out with defense modifications because everybody else is cheating in the race. So there's like a reason to have buzz saws and the
Right.
camera, the tire, the shield, the jump jet. I mean, there's like a good reason.
Yeah, that makes it a lot less. It's not as fun when your main character is super overpowered and nobody else can do anything about it. I could totally see that being a major drawback, and I'm glad they changed things up in the movie. I will say, it's is it my favorite style for live action? No, but they do have their own style in this movie. There is no doubt about that. They are able to. I like. It's a cool vibe. It's very neon, bright, a little cartoony, and I think it works better. I think there's some really amazing cartoons that use it, and this movie uses it very well. But it's not as much my favorite in live action. But at the very least, it's not another generic kids movie that is the exact same. It takes a lot. It does a lot of stuff I've never seen before in a movie, and probably never will again. And
Yeah, I
in
think
any
this is the.
genre, let alone a kids movie.
Yeah, you're right. This is the closest I think that we're ever going to get to a live action anime or cartoon, coming close to replicating what those two genres do.
Yeah, and like the fight scene. I have some complaints about the fight scene, but you really have never seen anything like that in that same way. I guess the closest thing that comes to mind is the hyper realistic slow mo shots in Hobbs and Shaw. It's the only thing that it can even come close, but this is done very differently than that, and in a more fun way. I feel like the other Hobbs and Shaw is a totally different movie, but it's just these slow mo fighting scene. Everybody's it speeds up and then slows down. Everybody's getting punched, and there's guns, and no one's shooting them. It's neat. It's neat, but it's also super weird, right?
But it does something that no other thing has replicated. And the one thing about anime is there's those lines that come through in the animation. For instance,
Sure.
like someone throws a punch and it's like really exaggerated. You have the lines coming from the punch and it's like coming at a million miles an hour when it's just a punch.
Mm.
And one thing I like about this is that it's snowing during the fight. So when they throw a punch, the snow becomes like the speed lines from the original
Yeah,
anime.
and I thought it was kind of neat the way they did it. It is there is a certain cringe factor to it. You know, you have the whole family fighting. You know, it's one of those family fight scenes, something out of Spy Kids, but it's done way better than something out of Spy Kids. I'll tell you. Still has that aspect to it. It is very there is a lot in this movie that reminds you of Spy Kids, especially the third one. Am I wrong? Am I wrong?
Or yes, you are completely wrong.
I'm not There's no. If you guys watch the movie for the first time, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. There are some
It's
aspects of this movie that it's like that's Junie Cortez's front lawn. That's
it's
the Island of Lost Dreams. That.
it's definitely a little weird the first time you watch it, but in my opinion, why does it have to be super realistic? Why can't the colors be dialed up to 11?
And it can, and it did.
And it broke all the boundaries, and I think it's fine. I think way too many movies nowadays, it's like there's this set specific rule of, oh, you need to have this be a little realistic. You can break a little boundaries in this, but this has to be like super super dark and stuff. And this one
Yes,
didn't.
and that's why my theory is that this movie, I think it even would have held up better if it was originally made as a full-on animation. Because they
I
don't
think you're
do.
wrong.
I don't, especially now. If they made it now, I really wouldn't want another live action. I would want a really well animated either 3D, or I would happily take a 2D animated movie. As long as it has that same style, it just works so much better in cartoon. Why do they use CGI so much? Because that allows them to do that. So if you have a cartoon, you can have all that cool stuff. It'll look way more natural without the natural like cringiness that sometimes comes with live action stuff.
I guess. I think the main thing you're looking at is this is live action. The way I look at it is it's a mix. And that's the way a lot of people need to look at it.
I
It
know, but as a product of its time, sometimes it's not as well mixed as I would like.
yes,
Sometimes it
but it's
looks a
still
little
like
too goofy, a little too product of its time.
it's still amazing like what they did because when you think about it, like if this movie would have been made now, like I said before, you would have had probably the monkey and the mechanic and Sparky Spritle and the monkey would have been changed drastically. You probably would have had Sparky and Spritle be mixed into the one character, and they would be like the humor and stupidity at the same time, just something stupid. And then you would have the monkey be like a robo monkey or something like that, and he would be like the main central focus of the plot, and the car would be some like Formula F1 version. It wouldn't be the Mach 5. It'd just be like really stupid.
It depends what studio gets it, really.
I know, but just this movie, I mean, it's so special because you can look at it and it's like the studio never touched this probably. They were like, Wachowskis, what do you want to make? And they're like, I want to go with Speed Racer. And they're like, all right, take 150 million.
And they never saw that money again.
I know.
Oh. Now, I have a very interesting question for you. I want you to guess which movie I am talking about. So it's a racing movie, and in the movie, there's a massive worldwide
This
race.
movie does not have the story of Cars
no.
2.
It has a massive. So just guess the movie, right? It's a racing movie. It has a massive worldwide race filled with a diverse cast of different race cars with their own personalities. In the meantime, there is a corrupt business that is taking out cars during the race, rigging things, and
Jace,
has
the
massive
story is nothing
more
like Cars
ulterior
2.
motives for money. And so it is both at the same time a racing movie and a action crime thriller with ninjas and fights and guns and espionage. Oh wait, I'm talking about Speed Racer. Or am I? Or am I talking? Did I not just describe the plot of Cars 2? Am I wrong or am I right?
Jace, you're killing me.
No.
Yes.
No.
It's the
No.
same story.
No, it's not.
It is. It
No.
is.
Speed Racer has nothing to do with gas. The storyline of Cars 2 is all about gas and stupid spy thriller stuff. There's not a single thing except for Racer X, which
The
they don't
point
even
wasn't
really.
the gas. The point wasn't the gas. It was that a corrupt business was trying to make a bunch of money by sabotaging races. That's the
But
same.
that's not what they're
What about
sabotaging.
Speed
They were
Racer? It's a movie where all the races are rigged to try to make money, and they do the exact same thing by trying to take
we're done.
cars
We're done.
out.
We're done.
Okay. I clearly will see it differently, but I'm a little afraid Jeth is just unable to accept the reality. Anyways, in general, though, I probably will never watch this movie again, if I'm going to be completely honest. Maybe one more time. I like certain parts of it, but in general, it was not my favorite movie. But it is Zeth's, and he will answer that question any day. In fact, he loves being asked that question if you ever meet him.
It's my favorite movie. I could watch it every month. I never get sick of it.
And he does. No. But yeah, I think that just about wraps up everything we're talking about. Is there anything you wanted to bring up? Anything you wanted to mention?
Not really, just it's a good movie, and I think it's just sad that it's not gotten a lot of attention that it deserves.
I agree. I agree that it was totally underrated, and it deserved a lot more respect than what it got when it came out.
Yeah, I think if anyone like that is desperately looking for a live action anime that, I mean, they're not really necessary, but if anybody just wants to watch one, this is your best shot at it. This is the one that does it the best.
And again, yeah, Zeth just made an amazing video. He spent a lot of time on it, took a lot of collaboration and ideas thrown around, and he just has a major passion for this movie. So if you guys could go check out the video, it should be the one right below this one. And yeah, check it out. Bye.